opted out of the Wildcat after being snubbed from the starting position. The Twitter world was abuzz last night with fans calling Tebow a hypocrite. If this is true, and this is key, if this is true, do you have a problem with Tebow asking out of the Wildcat? Skip?
Stephen A., not only do I have no problem with this, I loved it. You and I have been calling for weeks for Tim Tebow to wipe that smile off his face and stand up and be a man. Quit turning the other cheek when Rex Ryan so many times has used and misused you as nothing more than a publicity stunt. You were right from the start about this. I wrote about this for ESPN.com the other day. This was nothing more than a big publicity stunt by Ringmaster Rex during training camp. When those satellite trucks, they massed around that practice field, didn't they? Because this was, what will Tim Tebow do? Will he run this? Will he split series? Will he trade starts with Mark Sanchez? Baloney. It was a bunch of phony baloney. I bought it. We all bought a part of it. And the problem was that Tim Tebow was sold a big bill of goods because he was led to believe he would get a 50-50 shot at winning the starting job if, in fact, Mark Sanchez struggled. And you know and I know Mark Sanchez struggled abysmally, pathetically, pretty much from about the third game on through the rest of the season.
Game 2 was against Pittsburgh, started there.
What's that?
Game
started
2
there.
was against Pittsburgh, started
He started off okay in that game, and then it went from that to worse.
in the first quarter.
Yeah. So the point is that Tim Tebow not only did not get a chance to win the starting job, Rex would placate Tebow fans by throwing Tebow into the game randomly, bizarrely, for a play or two here or there that often and almost always did not involve what Tebow does best, which is run the read option, the spread option, and throw out of it. Did we get to see Tebow throw out of it all? No, we didn't see it much at all. And why was that? Because I think Rex was trying to sabotage him, or at least keep Tebow from making Rex look like a fool, which is why when finally Tebow was given his first full series the whole year, just one, in week 14, they lost that game, and what happened afterwards? He passed over Tim Tebow for McElroy. And that's when Tebow finally said, wow, I was duped here. I've had enough. And he spoke out a little bit last week. For Tebow, but by his standards, that was a diatribe that he said, I was a little disappointed. But what happened when Rex goes to him before this game? We thought he'd be inactive because Rex hasn't had 3 quarterbacks active all year. Rex says, I'll give you a couple plays in the Wildcat. He's not a Wildcat quarterback. And he just finally said, I'm assuming by the reports, Rex, no. I'm not going to let you do that to me again, just to placate fans, just as a concession to the Tebow fans out there. Let him run a couple of Wildcat plays. No, thank you, Tim Tebow, for standing up and saying, I have had enough. And how did Rex stick it to him yesterday, Stephen A.? He lets little Curly run the Wildcat, and not only let him run it, let him throw it. He let him do what Tebow couldn't do all year. Oh, look,
High school quarterback, by the way.
It's complete. Oh, wow. Way to go, Rex. You did it. You're a genius, an offensive genius, Rex Ryan, Tony Sperano. Way to go. It was just shameful what they did to Tim Tebow. And I, for one, am happy that Chris Mortensen has reported that Tebow will get a shot next year in Jacksonville. And I hope he seizes that shot and makes Rex Ryan look like an even bigger fool than Rex looks right now.
I don't really need to focus on Tebow. We all know that in the Twitter sphere, even though there are a lot of great people that do put out tweets and things of that nature, we know that there are a lot of clueless individuals that show up on Twitter as well. And those who have called Tim Tebow hypocritical in this case clearly are beyond clueless, because as far as I'm concerned, it's the most authentic thing Tim Tebow has done all year long. We can't even imagine the level of frustration. You don't have to go where I'm going to go. You've done it enough. But 7 victories and 11 starts, a playoff victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers, all last year. You come to New York. You have been told you are going to be a backup quarterback with a legitimate shot to compete for the starting job. Week after week, as Mark Sanchez stunk up the joint, you refused to give this man an opportunity. He smiled and smiled and smiled to the point where people like myself wondered if you had a backbone. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he wiped that smile off his face and he took a stance because I believe Rich Cimini's report out of ESPNNewYork.com. Rich Cimini is one of the best. He's been covering the Jets for years.
Yep.
He is as plugged into that organization as anybody in America. And if Rich Cimini says that that's what the Jets did, I believe him. ESPNNewYork.com, Rich Cimini. Go read him if you want to know about the Jets. The man knows what he's talking about. Let me be clear. The New York Jets are a complete joke and a circus of an organization. The only question about this organization is, where do they stand in terms of who made this decision about Tim Tebow? We don't know. Because we don't know if Woody Johnson compelled them to do it. We don't know if Mike Tannenbaum and Rex Ryan did it on their own. Everybody's hiding behind the other. Publicly, they're saying it's me. But behind closed doors, they're talking to reporters and leaking whatever information because they're in CYA mode. Cover your you-know-what. That's what they're doing. So here we are. Now we have to look at the character of the individuals. Well, Mike Tannenbaum is a person that I've been on the record saying should be working for the CIA. He is just, if you need somebody to keep a secret, he's your man. If you need somebody that is a master at saying absolutely nothing while he is talking to you, that's your guy. Please, corporate America, hire him.
He should be working for the CIA as a capologist.
Something like that. Whatever the case may be, all right? Now it ultimately brings me to Rex Ryan. Because I think about all the bloviating that Rex Ryan has done to guaranteed Super Bowl guarantees and all of this other stuff. And we talk about Tim Tebow being duped. And you know what comes to my mind, Skip? Tim Tebow wasn't duped. All of us were duped. I was duped. New Yorkers were duped. Jets reporters were duped. Jets fans were duped. Fireman Ed was duped. Poor soul, wearing his baseball cap backward, just throwing his Fireman Ed hat to the side. I mean, it's just pathetic. Because we listened to a coach. You know, if you really think about Rex Ryan, you think that, you know how they talk about he's the former defensive coordinator for the Ravens? You think that he was the defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl. I mean, if you listen to Rex enough, ladies and gentlemen, Rex Ryan was the defensive line coach. You know what the defensive coordinator was? Marvin Lewis, who's the head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator. Rex Ryan was working under him. And oh, by the way, who'd they have on defense, Skip? Ray Lewis, Rod Woodson, Jamie Sharper. I mean, who's the Tony Saragusa here, Sam Adams, Peter Bolware. I mean, just a star-studded cast of defenders. But Rex is supposed to be Mr. Brilliant. He's the defensive brilliance that led to the Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl title when it was Marvin Lewis who actually did it. When Rex Ryan became the defensive coordinator in 2005 through the 2008 season, Baltimore Ravens didn't go to any Super Bowls. Baltimore Ravens didn't win any Super Bowls. So all I'm saying is, if you listen to him, you don't get that. And I'm a person that likes Rex. But I look at what he has done and the way that he has abused this guy, Tim Tebow. And I'm saying, wait a minute. If you look at his history, and meaning comparing his mouth to his actions, Rex Ryan actually has a better history of duping folks than he does of actually producing. So to me, this should be of no surprise to Tim Tebow. It should be something that stands as a flashlight and a flashbulb in all our heads. And we should recognize that Tim Tebow, God bless him for finally recognizing that he was duped, and more importantly, willing to stand up like a man and accept the fact that I have been duped. This is not funny, and I'm not going to be PC and put my happy face on and act like everything's okay. It's not okay. And I applaud him for doing it, and that's all I have to say.
Final point. If the Jets had somehow still been alive for the playoffs yesterday, trust me on this, Tim Tebow would have done whatever he was told to do. But they were out of it. It had been passed over. But he will do whatever it takes to win games if there's a reason to do it. There was no reason yesterday. They're done.
But the critics are saying, if this is true, he gave up on his teammates. Do you agree with that?
Well, they are done. They're out of the playoffs. So there's nothing to give
no
up.
way that he
when
could.
the head coach gives up on him and publicly humiliates him by passing him by as the backup quarterback, then that's it. That's enough. You don't need a charity case to say, Tim, let me get you out there for a couple of plays. You don't need a sympathy vote here of, let me just get you out there for your fans. Just say, no, that's
The way the Wildcat has been utilized this season, he would have been right even if they were still eligible to playoffs to make the decision that he's made, because they've been inept in everything they've done with him this year. It's been embarrassing, and there does come a point in time where you have a right to say enough of this charade, which is exactly what it has been.
Congregation, let me just remind you, Pastor Smith